Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. This is Pilates All Levels. If anything doesn't feel good in your body, please remember not to push through any kind of negative pain, especially your neck, your joints, so your shoulders, your knees, your hips, even your elbows. Just be careful of that. If you have a mini ball, grab it. If not, you can use a pillow or no props whatsoever. We're going to start on hands and knees to mobilize our spine, and we'll get rolling. So fingers are spread pretty wide, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And if you needed to pad up your mat, especially if you're on a yoga mat like I am today, you could always fold up your mat under your knees. We'll just start by very gently rounding the spine up. And as your spine rounds, feel the tailbone curl, try to relax through the back of your glutes. Let your chin drop, and then as you inhale, open the chest, slide the shoulders down, look forward, and start to arc through your spine. So really the whole spine, right? Low back, middle back, upper back. And then again, round, curl the tail. Try to relax the glutes, widen your shoulder blades. And then as you inhale again, open the chest and really just start to move through your spine. One more like this, rounding up. Hold here at the top. So the chin's dropping a bit, the stomach's pulling up and in, the glutes are relaxed, the shoulder blades are wide. And this time as you articulate, try to release the tailbone first. So you're gonna lift the tailbone to the sky, arc through lower back, middle back, upper back. Shoulders melt down, eyes come forward. And then same thing, try to start with your pelvis first. So tailbone curls, round lower back, middle back, upper back, and chin drops last. And then just let everything open to neutral. So where the body is pretty flat or parallel to the ground. And as you exhale, just do a small hinge back in space. And as you hinge back, you don't want to feel your lower back round at all. And then you'll inhale, just come back to where you started. So it's a pretty small rock back in space. And we're using this to help create some mobility in the hip joints. And only go back so far it feels comfortable on the hips and the knees, right? So it doesn't have to be very big. Also starting to mobilize the shoulders. Yeah, if you feel any wrist tension, you might take your arms a little forward. And as you reach back, feel the shoulders widening and dropping out of the ears. Yeah, just one more like this. Good. And then you can come into cat pose or push back into child's pose if that feels comfortable on the knees. So cat stretch or child's pose, just holding. And just notice what this feels like in the beginning of the hour, and we'll come back to this towards the end of the hour. Good, and then rise up and make your way onto your back. So if you have a prop, have it close by, right? Just make sure you can grab it with ease. Good. And then we're gonna clasp the hands together. So make sure that the hands are fully clasped together. They go behind the head, and your elbows are gonna lift a little bit into your peripheral vision. And then drop your chin slightly, find neutral pelvis. So to find this, flatten your lower back completely to the floor. And then release that and try to find just a little bit of space under the lower spine. Keep that, exhale, curl the head and the chest up, coming just to the tips of the shoulder blades. And then inhale, lower the chest and the head all the way down. And again, nod the chin, exhale, curl up. Yep. And inhale, lower down. So essentially, this is kind of like a crunch, right? So the only difference in Pilates, you really want to feel that articulation from your upper spine, your middle spine, and the pelvis itself is staying really still, right? It's not moving, it's not flattening, it's not arcing. Yep, the head's staying heavy in the hands, right? So there isn't too much neck tension as well. And you should start to feel your abs starting to kick in a little bit, right? So keep going with this. And then for Garrett, I'm just going to have your feet come in just a little narrower. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah, and then for Ryan, I'm just going to take your feet a little narrower as well. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then for Kate, just feel your left foot come to parallel. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Good. So the next time that you curl up, hold and maintain that lift, right? And then take a breath in. And as you exhale, see if you can flatten your lower back a little bit to the floor. So you should feel your lower abs kind of meet your middle and upper abs. And then as you inhale, let that unravel back to neutral. And that's just where there's a little bit of space. So again, as you exhale, curl the tail, try to relax your butt. And then as you inhale, let that release towards neutral. And it's not going to be a very big motion, but you should start to feel your abs kicking in, right? Now let your pelvis open to neutral and then lower the chest and the head all the way down to the ground. And this time as you exhale, we'll curl up and over to the right, and we're gonna float the right leg tabletop. And all that means is your knee is over your hip and the knee and hip are 90 degrees. Now we're gonna lower the head and the chest down, lower the foot, and then switch. Left leg tabletop, twist towards it, lower the foot, lower the head, and then right leg tabletop, twist towards it, lower the foot, lower the head, and again. Just keep twisting from side to side, right? And as the legs, right, are lifting, as one leg comes up and as it comes down, try not to feel too much rocking in your hips, right? And whatever foot is on the ground, very gently push into that foot, push down a little bit, and that should help turn on your lower abs, and it should help give you a little bit of stability and help maintain neutral. Good. Nice. Yep, and just a reminder to keep the elbows wide, right? The elbows, right, they don't have to touch the knee by any means, right? So really think of your armpit crossing up and over rather than your elbow. And just see if that feels any different. Yeah, let's just say one more each side. Yeah, last one to the left. And then lower everything down to the ground. All right, so again, we want to find a little bit of an imprint through the lower back. So feel the lower back flatten a bit towards the floor. If you want to up level, bring one leg at a time tabletop. So now both legs are floating up. And you want to feel that this is in your stomach. It's not going into your lower back or overly going into your hips. As you exhale, nod, curl the chest up. Now at the top, reach your arms forward and use the reach of the arms to help lift you off your shoulder blades. On your next breath out, hands to the back of the head, but don't lower. You should feel your abs have to stabilize, and then slowly lower the head and the chest only. Right? Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, curl up. Keep exhaling while you reach your arms forward. Collarbones are open. Take an inhale. Exhale slowly, hands to the back of the head. Stay lifted, right? We should feel our abs. Slowly lower the head, lower the chest. And again, exhale, lift the chest, reach the arms forward. Yeah, nice. Nice, good. Hold there, take a breath. Exhale slowly, hands to the back of the head. Do we feel our abs? Hold there, take a breath, lower the chest, lower the head. The next one, we're gonna change it. On your next breath, curl up, reach the arms forward, keep curling up, open the collarbones a little bit. On your next breath out, hands to the back of the head, but stay there, just breathe. So your elbows are up on your peripheral vision, right? And that sense of core that you feel now, maintain that and tap your right heel to the ground. Yep, bring it up as you inhale. Exhale, left heel to the ground. Yes, and I say towards the ground because you don't have to touch, right? If you only go down 2 inches and that's where you feel your abs and it doesn't go into your back, go 2 inches, all good. Everyone feeling this? Okay, sweet. So take just one more each side. Right? And just make sure you end to your left so you're even. And then lower the head, hug the shins into the body. And just let everything relax for a moment. You can rock your hips a little bit from side to side. And then find a place that feels centered. Lower the left leg to the ground. And then flex your foot and push the heel down into the floor and float the right leg tabletop. So your pelvis on this can be pretty neutral because we still have one leg on the ground for support. Right now, right knee, right hip, 90 degrees, hands come behind the head, elbows are pretty wide. And as we exhale again, we're gonna curl up and over to the right. And I just want you to hold there for a moment. Take your left heel and push it down and almost imagine it was trying to pull towards you. So you're gonna feel a little bit of work behind your hamstring, nice. So maintain that sensation. Now look at your right knee. So your head's just in a nice position. And all we're gonna do, we're gonna inhale, untwist 2 to 4 inches. Exhale, curl back up. Keep looking at your knee. Let that left shoulder blade drop down just a couple inches. And then exhale, lift your left shoulder blade a couple inches. So it's a pretty kind of small motion, right? But it should be a pretty big, intense feeling in your stomach. Yeah. Keep that sensation of left foot flexing. It's digging down. And you want to feel more of the side of your abs, right? So we're working into the obliques. Try to keep the head nice and heavy. And then lower everything to the ground. Hug the right leg into the body. And as you inhale, take that leg across and open the right arm to a T, palm faces up. And this doesn't have to be like a super big twist. So really just take it as far as it feels comfortable. Feel some weight in your right shoulder and then breathe into your right waistline. So we're really trying to mobilize the upper spine, the middle spine, the hips. And then as you exhale, use your stomach, use your core to bring you back to center. And then right leg to the ground, flex your foot, left leg tabletop. Good, and just make sure there's some energy in that right leg. So the heel is pushing down and it's almost like it's trying to drag towards you. So the back of the hamstrings are on. And then hands behind the head, lift the head and the chest up and over to your left thigh. You're just gonna keep an eye on that knee. Inhale, lower down a couple inches. And I want you to think when you lift, think of just lifting that right shoulder blade maybe 2 to 4 inches, and then take it down just a little. And exhale, curl up. Nice. Inhale down a couple inches. Exhale, curl up. And the whole time, still think of that leg on the ground staying active. So it's pushing down, it's pulling towards you a little bit to help this right hip stay open. And imagine, right, a seatbelt from your right armpit crossing down towards your left hip bone. Yep. Inhale down, exhale up. Last two, inhale down. And lower everything down to the ground. Hug the left leg in towards your body. And then as you inhale, pull that leg across, holding and breathing into that. So the left arm can open out to the side, palm can turn up. Keep breathing. Yeah. And just feel that left shoulder kind of roll out of the ear a little bit. Yeah. And then as you exhale, use your stomach to bring you back through center. Nice. And then hug both legs in towards your body. Good. And find a place where your tailbone is pretty heavy and your lower back is fairly flat towards the floor. So you're using your stomach to help create some of that flatness or length. And then take the legs towards the sky. Now, my hamstrings are really sore today, so I'm not going to be able to fully straighten my legs, which is fine. But I'm going to keep my knees over my hips. So if your hamstrings are feeling tight, just keep a little bit of a bend in the knees. Now, grab the back of your thighs, lift your head and chest, right? And use the strength of your arms to help lift you off your shoulder blades. And just kind of shake out your head a little bit, relax your shoulders, and then take a really deep breath in. And then exhale, hands behind the head, stay lifted, right? You should feel your abs. Now on your next breath out, maybe take the right leg 3 to 6 inches away from your body, and then use your stomach to pull back and then pause. And then left leg, maybe 3 to 6 inches away, and then pull back. So stay with this. If you want to bring it down a bit, you can go back to your heel taps, right? So that's going to be a little bit nicer. Or you can keep the feet on the ground and go back to chest lowering and chest lifting. And that's going to be the most supportive, right? So if we're up here for these kind of small scissors, again, make it slow, right? The slower you go, the harder it's going to be, right? And as your body, right, as it gets tired, it's going to want to naturally speed things up to get, to get through this, right? To get through the torture. Last one to the left. And then hug the knees into your body, lower the head, let the knees and the feet open. So your hips and your inner thighs get a bit of a stretch. Good. And then settle the feet to the floor. Good. Feet are going to be about hip distance or ball distance. So if you have a ball, we're going to place it in between the knees. Now a pillow would work, a block would work, or again, we don't need any props for this. So the feet are going to be about ball distance apart in parallel. Arms are going to be by our side, and you're going to open them up a little bit wider than your mat. We'll curl the tail, just like we were doing on hands and knees, and you're going to roll your hips to the sky. So as the hips lift up, start to feel the back of your glutes turning on, right? And you're going to pause when your hips are in line with your knees and your shoulders. And then exhale, roll down slowly, upper back, middle back, all the way through your lower back. All right, pelvis will open to neutral, and then again, curl the tail. So start with that articulation, low back, middle back, glutes start to turn on, hips open. And then at the top of this one, feel weight in your heels, your first ball of the foot, and your last ball of the foot. Right? And if you're not sure if your glutes are working, touch them. Just make sure there's some tone there. And then again, roll down slowly. And as you roll down, think of your back really widening onto the mat. So this is a great way just to keep your spine mobile. And you're going to do about 3 to 4 more on your own time, your own pace. Now, if you're doing this with a prop and you're like, oh my God, all I feel is my hamstrings, my back feels really tight, my hips feel really tight, ditch the ball and take your feet wider. And that is going to give you more room for your hips and your lower back. If you don't feel your glutes, let me know. Good. And the idea on this is, right, we have our spine. So we have neck vertebra, thoracic vertebra, lower back vertebra, and they're all meant to move, right, individually. Right? They should all be able to articulate. And as we get tighter, as we age, we just start to lose some of that. So really, as you go up, as you go down, feel for that just really small articulation from vertebra to vertebra. And the next time that you lift, right, whenever you get there, there's no rush. Just stay lifted at the top. Yep. Yeah, so we're lifted into that bridge. Now all we're going to do, take a breath in. Exhale, squeeze your thighs if you're using a prop, and then release a little bit as you inhale. And then exhale, gently squeeze. So inner thighs are now working with your glutes, with your hamstrings. Now, if you want a little more hamstring work, think of, right, you don't have to actually move, but think of the heels dragging towards your shoulders. Feel the knees reaching forward and the hips lifting straight up. So even though there's not a lot of movement here, there should be quite a bit of sensation. That last one, last squeeze. And then on your next breath out, slowly start to roll it down, upper, middle, lower back. All right, if you had a prop, take it off to the side. We're gonna roll back up with no prop. So we curl the tail, we roll up into our bridge. And again, just check, knees, hips, shoulders, everything's one pretty long line. And you feel the front of your abs, the front of the rib cage is pretty heavy. The abs are working here to stabilize. Now put some weight in your left leg. Feel the back of the left glutes turn on, and then you can lift your right heel, right? So just your toes on the ground, or that whole leg can come up tabletop. So I'm essentially balancing on my left side. And then set the right leg down to the ground, feel some firm weight in that foot, and then switch. So we're transferring load to the other leg. And then inhale to drop, exhale to switch. Now, you can place your hands on your hips as just a reminder to help keep them level, or if you're just not sure if they're level, especially at home without us watching you, it's just kind of a nice way to check out what you're doing. And then super important, if you don't feel your glutes on this, let me know, or touch the back of the glutes and see if you can use a little tactile cueing. Yeah. Yep. Hamstring cramps are fairly normal in the beginning, right, of any of this stuff. So just be mindful if you need to come down, take a little break, and then you can always come back up. Good. Yep. Good. And then end to your last side. Feel both feet heavy to the ground. And then as you exhale, just slowly roll it down. Upper back, middle back, lower back. Pelvis to neutral, knees into your chest, lower back imprinted, legs to the sky. So again, right, my hamstrings are a little tight today, that's fine. Just bend the knees a little if yours are as well. Otherwise, they're straight to the sky. Grab the back of the thighs, lift the chest again. So this time, we're gonna grab both hands below the right leg, below the right knee rather, and the left heel is gonna touch the ground. So we're just bringing it all the way down. Now, you want your abs in, you want to touch that left foot to the floor. So you want that feedback of your heel pushing down into the ground, and then use your arms to pull your right leg towards you. So you should feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings. Now, as you exhale, left leg up first and then switch. Right heel, have it touch the ground. Inhale, and then exhale, switch. So one leg pulls in towards you as the other is pushing to the ground. Right? Now, your head can always be on the ground for this. You can place a ball or a pillow behind your head so you have a little bit more support. Right? So hamstrings are opening, abs are working. Right? And again, if this long leg, right, long lever, if that doesn't feel good, legs tabletop, and then try single leg stretch instead. So you're reaching out about 45 degrees. You'll lose the hamstring stretch, but you'll still gain the abdominals. Yeah, and maybe hands to the calf if you want a little bit more stretch in the legs. Yeah. And the arms essentially are helping to keep us up and off our shoulder blades. And we're going to end left leg up, right leg down, just whenever you get there. And then we'll hug the left leg into the chest. Right leg is long into the floor. And then again, pull this left leg over the body for a gentle twist. Opening the arm, shoulder softens. Right? And round 2 of this, just notice, does it feel any different than the first one? Breathe into that whole left side. And then as you exhale, use your stomach, bring you back to center. Left leg to the ground, right leg into the chest. And then as you inhale, open the right arm, pull that leg across. And again, just feel some ease into the shoulder. We're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And as you exhale, use your stomach, come on back to center. Hug both legs into your chest. Grab the back of your legs and just take a little rock and roll to come up to seated, or just any way you would like. But again, if you have a prop, grab your prop. Right? We'll go knees bent, feet flat. So your prop can go in between your knees. We're going to grab the back of the thighs. Now your feet can be flat and parallel. If this cramps out your feet like crazy, flex your feet, right? So the main focus on this is going to be spinal articulation and abs. So if your feet start to get kind of distracted, just flex them. Now hands behind the thighs, we're going to use the arms to help sit tall. And then we're going to curl the tailbone and roll back. Now it's the same articulation we've been working on. And I only want you to go back so far that your feet don't start to kind of lift off the ground. Your arms are supporting you. Now you're going to give that ball a bit of a squeeze, soften the shoulders, and then slowly round forward. Nice. Yeah, and then just restack. So it's that same mobility, lower back to the head, and then curl the tail, roll back, give that ball a little squeeze. Yep. Hold. Okay, and again, round forward. Nice. So inner thighs and abs. Now, if you want to make it harder, arms go forward, shoulders soften back, same movement, curl the tail. It's just less supportive. So this movement is coming from your hips having to open and work, your abs having to work. Hold. Inhale. Squeeze your prop. Exhale, round forward. Good. Restack, sit tall. And again, curl the tail. How are we feeling our abs? Okay. Lovely. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling everything too. And then round forward. You can't tell on camera, but I am shaking. And then curl the tail, roll back. Again, only so way this doesn't go into the lower back, but it stays in the abs. One more round forward, really easing the shoulders, easing the neck. Yeah, and then feel the feet widen just a little bit for Glenn. And again, curl. And then Glenn, take your feet just a little wider. Yeah, there you go. Nice. So the next time you roll back, hold. Your lower back is rounded. Now on your next breath out, all you're going to do, squeeze your ball if you have it. Take right hand, right fingertips to the chest, and notice how your abs have to work a little harder. Inhale that arm forward, and then exhale, squeeze your prop, left hand to the chest. Your abs, your stomach should have to work harder, and then bring it forward. Now, if you want even more work, both hands to the chest, don't move anything, and then both arms forward. Does everyone feel this? Okay. Oh my, yes, good. So it's kind of tricky, right? Kind of maybe not so sneaky, right? It's just kind of like a pow right to the stomach. So try to stay relaxed in your shoulders. If you need to curl up a little bit to take pressure off the back, A-okay. If you're not feeling it quite enough, you can always roll back a little further. So take just one more. If you're doing one arm at a time, end with your left. Good, and then arms forward, curl, roll all the way down, arms reach overhead, lengthen your legs out. Now you can still use a prop in between your knees, or you can just ditch it off to the side. Either way is fine. Now just one time, we're gonna lift the arms, the head and the chest, and really slowly, can you roll up, keeping your feet really heavy to the ground? Kind of mean after that last one. Stretch it forward. Yeah, and you can always hug the knees in, rock and roll up, good. Awesome. And just stretch it forward and just relax there for a moment. Yep, take your props off to the side if you had one. All right, and then we are gonna make our way onto our side. So any side you'd like, actually if you have a ball, have it handy, have it close by, and just make sure you're facing me. Pick a side, any side. Yeah. All right, so bottom arm can be long. You can have it bent, you can use a pillow. Knees are gonna be bent forward. And you want your heels in line with the back of your sit bones. And then the feet are gonna be grounded, top hand to the top hip. Hike this top hip up towards your ribs. So feel it kind of lift a little bit and then drop it down, find some length. Now keep the tummy in, keep the ribs in, and then lift the top knee up and open. And just pause here. Flex your top foot and push your heel down into your bottom foot. And if you take your fingers, if you fan them out and touch the back of your glutes, you should feel some tone there, right? Not just the outer butt, but really the whole butt. And then lower the top knee down. And then every time you lift, think of that heel pushing down and the thigh bone pivoting in the hip joint, right? So clams, diamonds, external rotation, lots of different names for this. You want to feel your glutes as this top leg lifts. Yep. Yeah, really good. And just make sure, right, that hand is also checking that as your knee goes up, you're not rolling your pelvis back in space. So everything stays stacked, your shoulders, your hips. Yep. That's it. And then for Garrett, top hip just a little bit forward. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, or think of rolling the top hip forward. Yeah. Just a little bit more. Yeah. So a couple more. Nice. And if you don't feel this, let me know. Yep. So this is just getting right bigger glutes, and then we'll start to get into some of these smaller glutes as well. Good. So the next time you lift, pause. And this one's kind of tricky sometimes to find, but your thigh bone is not going to move. So from your hip to your knee, right, this angle doesn't change. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to extend. I'm going to straighten my leg from my knee to my foot. So my leg essentially is kind of going. And then I'm going to bend my knee and then bring my heel back down to where it started, right? So my knee is still open and I'm just straightening from knee to foot. Yep, try not to move the thigh bone though. And then bend back in, right? So imagine I put that top thigh in a cast. It doesn't move, it's only moving from the knee to the foot. And you should feel this more on the side of your glutes, right? Exhaling to extend. Yeah, inhaling to bend. Yep, check that the hips aren't rolling backwards. Everything's still stacked. Yep. And then the next time you straighten the leg, pause. Lower that leg down so it's about parallel to the floor, and then start to sweep it back in space. So that leg is going to be straight now, and we're just going to pause and kind of reset. So top leg straight. It's in line now with the rest of the body, and you should feel still those outer glute muscles kicking in, right? And all we're going to do is add a little lift to the sky, maybe 2 to 4 inches, and then lower down towards the ground. Yep, and again, lift and lower. Now, as much as you can, relax your foot. This will feel kind of weird if you've done Pilates for a while. Kind of think of like droopy foot. Really, really relax. So as you lift, you're moving from your thigh bone and your pelvis. Yeah. And for Kate, feel just your top hip reach a little forward. Yeah, there you go. And then feel your leg reach a little bit back. Yeah, nice. Yeah. And then for Ryan, feel your top leg reach backwards just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah, and then for Glenn, feel your top hip roll just a little bit forward. Yeah, good. Couple more, keep going. Sweet. So you should still be feeling those outer glutes, outer glutes. So the next time you lift up, I want you to lift, circle back, come down, sweep the leg forward and lift back up. So it's fairly small, right? So your legs stay straight and we're just going into a circle. Now this doesn't have to be huge, right? Only so big you can control your spine, your shoulders, your hips, right? So the body doesn't move as we move and we find this range of motion through our hip and our leg. And you should still feel your glutes. Oh yeah. And then for Colette, feel your top hip come just a little forward. Yeah, there you go. Nice. And then find your center and then reverse your circles. Really relax the foot as much as you can. And if you've done dance, if you've done classic Pilates, this will feel kind of weird, right? Good. Last two. And then relax on one. Just let everything relax. Nice job. Knees together, feet together. Rub out the side of the hip a little bit. All right. So this next one, your top thigh, knee, and foot are all gonna lift. So my knee's bent, I'm just lifting up about hip height. I'm gonna take that top leg and just reach it slightly back in space. Now this one's gonna be for internal rotation. So as I exhale, I'm rotating my leg in, right? But it's gonna look like, right, my foot is lifting to the sky. And then inhale, I come back to center. So as I exhale, I rotate in, make sure the knee doesn't drop down, stays hip height. And then we come back to center. And you should feel this pretty deep in the side of the glutes. Now, if your hips are on the tighter side, you might not have a lot of range of motion here. And some people just in general just have less internal range, right? But check in, right? If you feel the side of these deep glutes, right? Is everyone feeling this one? Okay. So super important to work your internal rotators as well, right? So still gluteal muscles and other muscles as well, but just focusing on kind of the glute part of this right now. Last two, but it's really important for healthy hips. And last one, just let everything rest. Take both hands behind your head and then let just your top elbow come towards the sky and then rotate your head and your rib cage a little bit back in space. So we're really thinking of upper back rotation and mobility. Not going to feel too much movement in the hips or the lower back. And then exhale, we come back through center. And again, top arm lifts, right? So if you have to work at a computer all day, every day, once a day, some kind of upper back rotation. So this one, any kind of thoracic mobility or rotation is going to be really helpful to keeping you healthy at that computer. And unfortunately, I know that's a lot of us right now. Think of using your core to come back through center. Yeah. And make sure this isn't straining the lower back. If it is, decrease the motion, right? Keep it a little smaller. And then bring everything back to center and then prop yourself up onto your bottom forearm. All right. So this is where, right, if you're on a yoga mat on like a hard surface, you could always fold your mat, right? Or not. Elbow's going to be under the shoulder. Take your top hand underneath your bottom armpit and just kind of slouch down a little bit. Notice what that feels like. So nothing's really too active. And then really push into your forearm, lift your ribs up. You should feel some tone in your lats, so kind of under the armpit area. Now stay here or lift your hips. Knees and feet will still be on the ground. I'm just lifting my hips up a little bit. So I'm loading more into my side body, my shoulder, even my bottom glutes. Maybe the top arm comes to the sky, right? Maybe the top leg lifts and reaches out. Yeah, so now both sides of my glutes are on, lower waistline's on, right? Everything's on. And we're just holding and breathing. So it's a play on a side plank. On your next breath, let everything come down. You bend in, come down, reset your shoulder, right? Lift the hips, lift the top arm, maybe lift the top leg. Yeah, feel that whole underside of your body. Ribs are still connected, right? Abs are still working. Bring everything down and in. Good. We'll do one more like this. Exhale, set, right? And then move. Yeah, you can keep doing what we were just doing, right? You come down, you come up, it feels nice. Or stay lifted. Take your top leg and bring it just a little bit forward in space. Nothing else in the body moves. And then move that leg a little bit back in space. And the movement of the leg, it's not only working your butt, it's challenging the stability in your shoulder, your waistline, and your lower hip line. Now, this can also be done with your hips on the ground. Or again, just stay with that first movement if that feels better in the body today. Keep breathing, right? Wherever you want to breathe, just make sure you're breathing. Last one to the back. You're doing great. Find your center, lower everything down, sit yourself up, and then switch sides. Nicely done. All right, so just make sure you're still facing the same direction as you switch. All right, so bottom arm can be long, right? Knees are bent forward, heels are in line with the back of your sit bones. Top hand to the hip, let that hip hike up, and then lengthen it down. Ribs are softly in. Lift the top knee up and open and pause. So flex your top foot and really press the heel downward, right? And as that heel presses down, you should feel the back of the glutes turn on. Inhale, lower the knee. And then exhale, lift the top knee up and open. And again, inhale to lower. And exhale to lift. Yep. And your range of motion is most likely going to be different from left to right hip. It's going to be different from you to me, from everyone in class. So, right, you're not forcing it. Just notice where your range is and really feel like the movement is from where the thigh bone meets the pelvis, and that's where you're moving from. Good. Yeah, nice. Yeah, this looks great. You're using your core, right? All that core work we did in the beginning, you're using that here to help stabilize your ribs, your spine, your pelvis. Yep. Yeah, this looks great. Keep going. And maybe your hands go to the, or top hand goes to the ribs as a reminder to keep the belly lightly in. Maybe it relaxes down once you find the movement. And just periodically check in. Is there something working, right? Your jaw, your face, your shoulders, that doesn't have to be working too hard, right? So just kind of check in. And the next time you lift, pause. So the thigh, this angle won't change. The thigh itself, right? Your femur is not going to move. I'm just going to move from my knee to my foot. So my leg is reaching out, kind of up at a diagonal, and I bend the knee. The heel touches down, and I'm right back in that same position where I started. And then same thing, I reach, I'm thinking of a little bit of a turnout to help keep that position, and then I'm bending back in. And this should feel, we should feel this right in the side of the hip, right in the side of the glutes. Exhaling to reach. Inhaling to bend. Yeah, exactly. Exhaling to reach. Inhaling to bend. Couple more like this. Tummy still in, reach. Good. Last one. Exhale, reach. And bend. And then just reach that leg out to a long line. So now my top leg, it's lifted. It's in line with the rest of my body. Relax your foot. You might have to shake it a couple times, really get that foot to relax. Picture where the thigh meets the hip, and that's where we're going to lift a couple inches towards the sky. Check that the top hip doesn't lift, it doesn't hike. And then lower, foot towards floor. And again, lift. Thigh towards the sky. And lower. Yeah, really good. So this is working right into our abductors, the side of the glutes. We'll also test these, we'll work these while we're standing towards the end of the hour. Again, check in, right? Does one side feel different than the other? Like for me, this side feels way more mobile. My other side is always a little bit tighter. And that's pretty normal. Good. Again, check shoulders, neck. Is there something working that, doesn't really have to work too hard? And then the next time that you lift up, keep the foot relaxed. Start to circle back, down, forward, up, back, and down. So really trying to find a full circle, thigh bone circling the hip joint without too much movement in the pelvis, the back, shoulders, or the neck, right? Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And hopefully you're feeling the side of your glutes. This is going to get all of them. Next time that you come down, just simply reverse. Staying fairly parallel on these today, so I'm not turning out too much. And again, these can just be as big as your body feels stable today. They don't have to be super big necessarily. Right, back, up, around, and forward. Just gentle breaths. Last 4, 3, last 2, and last 1. And bring it back down, knees and feet together. You can just rub out the side of the hip for a moment. And then the top leg is going to stay bent. We're going to lift thigh, knee, and foot up, just about parallel to the floor. Reach that thigh backwards slightly in space, and then rotate the leg in. So you're going to see the foot kind of kick up to the sky, and then rotate back to center. Now, as this leg rotates in, make sure the knee doesn't drop down, but you maintain that hip height. And you want to feel, again, right in the side of the hip. It's going to feel like it's in a little bit of a different place, most likely. So it's internal rotation. And again, my legs are really tight today, so I don't have my normal range, and that's okay. And I'm not forcing it. I'm just working with what I have today. Last 3. Last 2. And last 1. Let everything come down. Again, you might rub out the side of the hip and then press yourself up onto your forearm. I think I lied there. Come all the way back down, both hands behind your head. I'm catching myself. Hips will stay stacked. Take your top elbow towards the sky. Rotate back in space. Hold and breathe. And then slowly rotate back to center. So again, one side, even on this rotation, might feel different than the other. So as you rotate back, try not to force it, especially through the lower back, but really feel like this movement is coming from your upper spine. And then use your core to bring you back to center. Yeah, it's just a couple more like this. Now, I didn't demo this on the other side, but some people like to do this with the top arm straight. If that feels okay, that's A-okay. If it feels better in the shoulder for whatever reason, just make sure you're not moving from the arm, right? The arm isn't creating the rotation, but it's the ribs, the upper spine that's creating the rotation. The next time that you rotate back, just hold for a breath. Breathing side to side, so really wide into the rib cage. And then exhale, bring it on back. And now we can prop ourselves up onto our bottom forearm. Right? Top hand goes underneath your armpit line. And then just kind of slouch down for a moment. And then lift up. So lift the ribs, push the forearm down, and you should feel some tone under the armpit area. And if it feels okay, lift the hips. Top arm can come to the sky. Yeah, and just feel that this is not just your shoulder working. It's this armpit line. It's this lower rib line, lower hip line. Everything can come down. And again, set your shoulder first. Set your stomach, and then hips can lift, and maybe the arm lifts. Yep, ribs are still connected, right? We're not overly arcing the back. Everything comes down. Everything comes up. One more, everything comes down. Good, everything comes up. Pause. So maybe the top leg lifts and lengthens. Good. Hold here, and then let everything come back down. Again, set the shoulder, maybe everything lifts and lengthens. Everything comes down, and then we'll stay lifted on the next one if you're advancing. So everything lifts, lengthens, pause. Stay here, take the top leg, bring it just a little bit forward and a little bit back. And just notice, right, with that top leg moving, everything in the lower body, the hips, the ribs, the shoulder has to stabilize. Maybe the eyes look down, if that feels better on the neck. Maybe the hips are on the ground, but the leg is still long and moving. Last two. End to the back. And bend everything in. The hips come down. Sit yourself up for a moment. Now again, if you have a prop, like a ball, have it close by. If you have pillows at home, the pillows won't necessarily work on this, but if you had a foam roller, it would. So if you have a ball like we do here, have it towards the front of your mat, and you're gonna come onto your stomach for this one. So no ball needed at first, and then we'll add on. So your hands are gonna be somewhere in front of your shoulders, and your legs are gonna be fairly wide. So wide enough to where you really feel like your lower back can relax a bit. Your nose is gonna be on the ground, or your forehead can be on the ground, and your shoulders are gonna relax forward. So really let them just fall towards the floor. Yeah, and if they don't, just take your arms a little wider. Now on your next breath out, lift up through your lower tummy, and just slide your shoulder blades together and down, right? It's the only thing moving is those shoulder blades, and then let your shoulders go forward and wide. And again, exhale, shoulder blades together and down, and then forward and wide. And all we're doing here is trying to wake up the muscles that live in between the shoulder blades. They're hard to find sometimes, and we're generally not like looking at these muscles in the mirror, right? I mean, Pilates teachers do. We, in the bathroom, we'll kind of look at our muscles move, but they're generally hard to see, hard to find. So the next time the shoulder blades go in and down, pause. So feel some work right in the upper back. And now just float the head and the chest a couple inches off the ground, keeping the elbows pretty heavy. And there's going to be the sensation of your hands drawing towards your feet and your heart pulling forward. Okay, so just holding here for a breath or two. And then lower your head and your chest down to the ground. Relax your shoulders. So shoulder blades together and down. Lift your head and your chest up. Yeah, elbows will just stay nice and heavy. And again, it's like you're dragging your hands back towards your feet and your heart forward. And then lower the chest and the head down. So this is a really nice one if you have some instability in your lower back or general lower back pain. This is just gonna work and move your upper spine. Now, pubic bone stays heavy. There's a sense of the deep glutes on in the background. Last one like this, peel up and pause. Right? Now keep your stomach lifting. Yeah, neck long so the head can drop just a touch. And I want you to think of your right leg getting so long that eventually it lifts. So there's the front of the hip is opening, the back of the glutes are turning on. And this can be parallel or turned out. I'll give you the option today. Lower that leg down and then keep the tummy in, pubic bone heavy, left leg, reach it so long it lifts. Yeah. And you want to make sure that leg is coming up, the back doesn't overly arc to find your extension, but the hip opens. Just keep alternating side to side, little bit of a lift to the chest, right? Just make sure your breastbone still has contact. Good. So now the whole back side of the body is working. One more each side, exhaling to lift and lower. One more to the left, lift, lower, and then lower everything down. Hands under the forehead. Bend the knees, windshield wiper the feet from side to side. Yeah, just find some rotation in the legs and the hips. Should feel pretty good. And then let the legs relax down again. All right. And then bring your arms somewhere wide. Shoulders set out of the ears, pubic bone heavy, and stomach is lifted. Hover the head and the chest up, just to the middle of your breastbone. It might be actually a little lower on this one. And then on your next breath out, really draw in through your stomach and then maybe lift your arms off the ground. And I want you to feel some work in your upper back, your middle back, and right in between the shoulder blades. And it's going to be the sense of your elbows kind of pulling back towards your feet. Now see if you can lengthen out your neck a little bit, and then lower everything down to the ground. Right, on your next breath in, lift the head and the chest. On your next exhale, float the arms up. Just hold there. Yeah, maybe the legs lift one at a time. So now the whole back side of the body is on. Keep the shoulders rolling out of the ears. The whole back body's on. Doesn't mean the front body's not working. The abs are still in. Everything lowers down. Now, if you want to add on, switch the breath. As you exhale, start to lift the head. The legs and the arms can follow, nice and slow. Core muscles are still in. Pubic bone heavy. Whole back side of the spine, the hips, the shoulders are working. On your next breath out, everything lowers. Okay, just 2 more like this. On your next breath out, head and chest lift first, and then the limbs follow. And your lower back can be stabilizing, but the movement itself is coming from the upper spine, the middle spine, and the hips. Just 1 more. Set the shoulders, everything can peel up, hold at the top. Now, in your next breath out, if you want to add on, maybe reach your arms to a T, palms facing down, shoulders really rolling. Oh, yeah, this is where you might hold hands if you're close. Good. Shoulders rolling out of the ears. And feel, right, as the arms lift a little bit towards the sky, feel the back side of the shoulders working. Feel the inner side of the shoulder blades. And then just let everything come down, push back child's pose. Or cat stretch if that feels better in your knees. All right, child's pose, arms are pressing forward, hips are pushing back, hold and breathe. And just notice what this feels like towards the end of the hour. And we are gonna run a little bit late today, just about 5 minutes. If anyone needs to be out of here right on time. So take a deep breath in, deep breath out. And then roll yourself up, and we're gonna make our way to standing. So we're coming all the way up, and we're gonna work some balance work, and we're gonna work into our glutes. So basically everything we did on our side, we're just kind of putting it towards the test standing, right? So you wanna stand with your feet about 2 fist distance apart, or inner hip bone distance. So usually it's a little bit narrower than we think. And if you take the heel of your hand on your hip bones, fan your fingers back. So just kind of find your outer glutes. And I want you to think of the legs straight, but not locked back. And as your leg bends, you don't want to see this big drop in the hip, but you want to feel your outer glute muscles. And then lower that leg. Yeah, and then switch, opposite leg bends. Yeah, there'll be a little movement, right? Not a ton. And then lower. Yeah, and essentially, whatever leg you're standing on, do you feel your glutes? And it's those same outer hip muscles that are helping to keep your pelvis balanced. So it's about 1 more each side, just make sure you're even, right? And then I'm gonna turn to the side for this next one. So both of my feet are on the ground to start. I'm gonna root into my left leg, and you might use a wall or a chair or countertop if you're at home, but I'm gonna bend my right leg, and I'm just gonna reach it back a little bit in space. So now my back glutes are on, my ribs are in, my abs are on, and I'm gonna hinge slightly forward. So my standing leg is a bit bent, I'm hinging into my left hip, and then I'm pushing into my standing leg, I'm using my glutes and hamstrings to bring me upright. Yeah, so it's just a small hinge. Yeah, it doesn't have to be very big. And then I'm rooting down to bring me up. And you guys already figured this out. If you're on the squishy mat, right, it's gonna be harder. If you're on the wooden floor like me, it's gonna be a little nicer. So same with at home, right? If you're on a squishier surface, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging to balance. And then on a harder surface, it'll be just a little kinder. Right? Does everyone feel their glutes on this? Okay. So good balance work, also just good standing glute work. So the next time that you lift, take your right leg up so it's in front of you a bit. The body's nice and long, so it's essentially tabletop or tabletop-ish. Start to reach that leg back, and just 2 more times, the leg goes back while we hinge. Ribs stay in, we root into the standing leg. Our posture is nice and tall as that back leg comes up, and just 1 more. So right leg reaches back, we hinge, Keep breathing. Rise up. And set that leg down and then shake out the standing leg. And you probably notice some muscles on your outer shins or inner shins kicking in as well, right? So those are all those muscles that help balance your foot. Yeah, so shake it out, walk it out, and then we'll switch. So I'm rooting down, a little bit of a bend in my right leg, my left leg bends, and it reaches back slightly. So those back glutes are active. And then I'm hinging through my right hip joint. My spine stays straight like a plank. I root into that standing leg to bring myself back up. And then again, I hinge. And just make sure the leg you're on, it's not locked out, right? Keep breathing. So it's still core work, hip work, right? Does one side feel easier than the other? Maybe, maybe not. And the next time that you come up, that back leg, my left leg, can rise up. Now make sure, right, your spine is still stacked. Ear, shoulder, hip. I'm using deep hip, deep ab, and then I send that left leg back, hinge forward. Again, it doesn't have to be real far. Rise up, bring that back leg up in front of you. Reach it back. Yep. Wall, A-okay. Chair, anything that you need help with to balance, totally okay. Last one like this, hinge, left leg back, lean forward. Bring everything up. Set the left leg down and then shake out that standing leg. Shake out the arms a little bit, nice. All right, so standing with your feet about hip distance, toes pointing fairly forward. Let your shoulders lift all the way up, circle them back and down. Just take a couple like that. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, back and down. This is something else you could do if you're at a computer working or standing, sitting. Just get your shoulders and your shoulder blades moving, wake up some of these kind of back of the shoulder and shoulder blade muscles. And then reverse, shoulder blades together, up, forward, and down, right? So just big motion. One more. And then again, relax. Take an inhale. Exhale, nod your chin first. And slowly start to roll down towards the floor. Have a decent amount of bend in your knees. Right? Hang pretty heavy. So let your head be heavy, let your arms be heavy. And maybe give your head a roll from side to side, up and down. And then take a big breath in. Keep the knees bent. Exhale, roll up slowly, root into your feet. See if you can feel your legs and then your core muscles, your shoulder muscles, especially the back, resetting you to stand tall for the day. And we'll leave you there today. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for joining. So I'm just going to stop the recording real quick. And